Romans readers, chapter 5. We have been justified by faith, and so we have peace with God, no more wrath. How did that happen? Just like Abraham, we cling to Jesus. By faith, then, we have peace with God. Jesus is the shield, not the law. He always was, even for Abraham. So true it is now for us. We have peace with God through Jesus. But now all of a sudden, it seems like out of the blue, Paul starts talking about suffering. That seems odd. We have been talking about obedience, disobedience, the king and sin, the law. But now everything seems to be cleared up. Cling to Jesus, peace with God. So suffering? Suffering produces endurance, endurance, character, hope. Hope does not put us to shame. But where's Paul going with this? Then, in verse 6 through 11, he starts talking about all the stuff that Jesus has done for us. We would scarcely die for a righteous person. God showed his love for us, and that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Saved by him from the wrath of God. Jesus is the shield. But again, what is all this doing? Paul's point is that yes, you have peace with God. No, that does not absolve you from suffering. Why? Because now, through having peace with God, you have entered into a true relationship of love. God showed his love for us in that while we were sinners, Christ died for us. In God showing his love for us, what did this do? What kind of position did this, in God showing love, what kind of position did this put God in? If God wanted to show love for us, what was it going to do to God? It was going to cause God to suffer. If God was going to love, he was going to have to love sinners, which means Christ was going to have to die. And so, yes, you have peace with God. No, you don't avoid suffering because now you love. Now you truly learn to love. And now that you've truly learned to love, you will love other people that you don't agree with, other people that sometimes hurt you. Because what do we know? God showed his love for us and that while we're still sinners. So why would all this happen? Here. 4. This is like the big foundation of all of this stuff here. We are to endure for love, and our example, the ground, the cause, the foundation of why on earth we would do any of this, why on earth we would put up with this. The foundation for that is our example is that for ground, cause, for Christ endured out of love for us, because Christ died for us out of love. And so we too will be willing to enter into situations that are suffering, but we don't give up, knowing that suffering produces endurance. And we hold on even then, knowing that suffering produces character, and character hope. Hope does not put us to shame. And where does all this move us to? In doing suffering, in doing that, who are we becoming more and more like? Jesus, who suffered. And isn't that what you want? Of course it is. So you do this process and you end up becoming more like Jesus Christ. Now look again at the shield. We know by now that wrath is coming from the king because we are a disobedient people. But now we're starting to see that the shield from the wrath is Jesus. But realize what that means. Wrath is falling from the king against a disobedient people. So who is our shield? The very king himself. We are saved by our very own king. Wrath is falling from the king, and out of love, out of his tremendous love for us, we are saved by that very king. Our shield from the king, from the wrath of the king, is the king himself. Look over towards the end of the chapter, verse 19. For as by one man's disobedience, that one man is Adam. Adam disobeyed. Man was disobedient to the king. Adam disobeyed in Eden, lost it all. And then that just kept repeating. Noah lost it. Abraham lost it. Moses lost it. The Israelites lost it. Everybody kept losing and getting kicked out of Eden. Because it all started with Adam. And we were disobedient to the king. So by that one man's obedience, the many will be made righteous. Jesus, as king, became obedient. See what he did? Jesus saw that man had a problem, an obedience problem. Jesus saw that people could not be obedient to the king, but he didn't want people to fall under wrath. So what did he do? He said to himself, then, well, I will become a person. I will become a man. If man cannot obey the king, then I myself will become a man and be obedient to myself. So the king became man, that man might be obedient. Our kings loved us so much, they said, if man's having an obedience problem, then you know what? I will become a man, and I will be obedient as a man. And so, by clinging to that man who is also God, clinging to that one, we are made righteous. Chapter 6 tomorrow. See you then.